Hello and welcome everyone to HMV's monthly career readiness webinar. Today we are going to be covering the topic of job searching. But before we jump into that, I want to introduce a special guest that we have with us today, Joel. Joel is actually one of our tax accountants with HMV, and I invited him to come and share a little bit about his HMV story. So Joel, do you want to introduce yourself, mention your title, and what brought you to HMV?
My name is Joel Marquin. I work in the Longview branch for HMV. I'm a tax accountant here. I have my master's. I'm working on my CPA right now. And one of the biggest things that really made me want to come to HMV was the ability to be at a big firm, but still have that small town feel to it. I'm from a very small town anyway, so it was kind of a good transition for me. And, once I got here and got to work, you saw the ability to uh, get bigger projects, get that trust from your partners, keep growing at a firm because you don't ever want to be just stuck in one spot for a very long period of time. You want to know that you can grow, and at HMB, there's a lot of opportunity to grow. One of my other favorite things of working here is that you have access to talk to the partners directly or to the managers. Like you don't have to sit here and wait 2 weeks before someone actually talks to you. You get and go ask them. You learn directly from them, and I think that's very beneficial, especially early on in your career, to help sharpen your abilities and grow. And everyone here wants you to succeed and be a better accountant as the years progress, for sure. So.
Okay. So Joel, a lot of the students that are tuning into these webinars are trying to decide what should they choose public accounting? Should they go into audit or tax? What advice do you have for them as you navigated that decision yourself?
Right. So I always heard that it was easier to go into public first and then try to transition anywhere else you wanted to go to, but it was industry or private or anything. As far as choosing between tax and audit, I think HMV does a good thing of letting you work both, multitask while not overloading you with so many things. So you get the exposure to both, but then at the end of the day, you get to choose what you feel is better for yourself, what's suited for your personality, how you like to work, and the people, your coworkers, more than anything. So I think I think always choosing public is better than trying to go directly into just industry where you're stuck doing the same thing over and over again. So that's how I did my decision.
I've had the pleasure of recruiting with Joel a few times, and it's always funny because we try to bring someone from both audit and tax so that if students have questions, they can communicate with both sides of the fence. And watching that debate as audit and tax talk about they're better than the other is always really funny to watch. Joel, I know that you've got some exciting things coming up in your life. Do you want to mention what you have on the horizon?
Yeah, so in like 30 days I get married. That's a big thing. And then
Yeah.
after that I have my first CPA exam or my second CPA exam I'm sitting for. So it's quite exciting, but I don't feel it feels good to have work at a good place where it's not stressful all the time.
Awesome. Well, Joel, as far as that CPA exam, do you have any advice for anyone as they kind of jump in and begin studying?
I think I would find someone who's either taking them or studying them at this point in time and try to get as much advice from them as possible. Everyone studies differently, but I think surrounding yourself with people who have done it already and know what you're going through is one of the best things you can do for yourself, especially because these exams are not easy. So it's always good to have someone you can lean on and ask for guidance or what am I doing wrong? Or even if you don't understand, someone here at the office can explain something to you that will click and you're able to pass that section. So as you're studying, I would look for someone who can help guide you in that direction to pass them.
Yeah, and at HMV, I am actually the one that is keeping track with all of the students or all of our professionals that are in that CPA exam studying mode. And we have over 20 that are currently in that phase of life that are studying for the exam. And so it's always neat to see how you guys are keeping each other accountable, keeping each other motivated, competing with each other on scores. And so I do think that that's also a wonderful thing about HMV is there's going to be a lot of individuals that are in your phase of life that are studying for the exam, newly married, recently came to the firm, that kind of thing, and that helps you build relationships and bonds with
Right.
colleagues.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, Joel, is there anything else you want to leave our audience with?
I think choosing HMV is probably the best decision you will make as a young accountant. Take it from me, take it from Miss Jessica. It's a good place for you to start your career and grow from there. Um, I can't. I love working here. I've been happy the last year that I've been here. It's probably the most happiest I've been in my career of public accounting. So I don't know. I hope you choose HMV and you decide to come work with us.
Awesome. All right, Joel. Well, I'm going to let you hop off and go back to taxes, and
Yes,
we
ma'am.
will continue talking on about job searches.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Bye.
Bye, Joel. All right. I see that we've got a couple that have joined us on the call. This is meant to be a interactive session. So if you have questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat box. You can use the raise the hand function. However you want to communicate those questions, please feel free to ask. I want this to be content that you're interested in. A little bit about me. My name's Jessica George. I recently came to HMV about 6 months ago. And in a prior life, I worked at Louisiana Tech in their College of Business as their executive director of student services and placement. So for 8.5 years, I was kind of in the trenches with students, helping them choose their major, helping them decide what their career plans would be, and then ultimately coming up with those action steps that would get them to that chosen career after graduation. And so I am very excited to talk with you today about job searching. I have done hundreds of job search appointments with students, and so the information that I'm going to share with you is going to be a little out of the box, and that is because it's a competitive job market, and we've got to try some unconventional methods in order to get noticed by different audiences. So what we're going to do is we're going to tackle job searching, and we do this every month. So our career readiness webinars are free of charge. Even if you can't tune in live, go ahead and register. That way you receive that link for recordings. We have already covered resumes and cover letters and LinkedIn and networking, and those can be found on our YouTube channel. If you cannot find a link to that, just reach out to me. My email is jgeorge@hmvcpa.com, and I'm more than happy to help you navigate those hard decisions, those questions that you might have about your career. That is one of my favorite things about working for HMV, is helping students figure out, what their path is in public accounting, and helping them get to HMV. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into job searching. All right, so before I do that, HMV, we are a public accounting firm. We have 3 locations in Monroe, Louisiana, Shreveport, Louisiana, and Longview, Texas. We have over 175 staff members. We're 75 years old, a very established firm. Of course, we have your traditional service lines, audit and tax, accounting services, but we are so much more than that. We also have other areas, business valuation consultants, retirement planning, wealth management. We have aligned mineral management. So HMV is more than just your traditional public accounting firm. We are truly professional services in every bit. And so if you're interested, I'll display this QR code at the end of the presentation as well. But go ahead and scan that. That gets you directly in contact with me, and I can reach out and learn more about your career goals and how that might translate into a career at HMV. All right, so uncovering job leads. So there are some things that one might think about when thinking about job searching. And the first is searching for a job is a full-time job. And while yes, searching for a job is time consuming, it is not meant to be a full-time job to look for a job. There are things that you can do to be more productive, to be more efficient, to be more organized. And so we're going to cover that in today's presentation. Job searching is one of the most difficult things that you can do. I actually graduated college in 2008. And one of the frustrating things is the economy was wonderful whenever I started college. And then when I graduated, it was terrible. It was an awful job market. You couldn't beg someone to give you a job. And I always struggled with why? Why am I graduating at this time? And fast forward a couple of years later, a decade later, I realized that I was meant to experience that frustration and that struggle so that I could help students go through the exact same thing, because no one expected to graduate post pandemic and in a difficult economy. And so here I am helping students through those very same struggles that I experienced. And so I can let you know firsthand that job searching is very difficult. It requires a lot of perseverance. It requires you to be self-motivated, but it is absolutely worth it. And the dream career is waiting for you. You just have to do a couple of things in order to secure that. So let's talk about how to identify appropriate roles to apply for. So the very first thing that you want to do is determine your interests and your career goals. I always direct students to different personality assessments like Myers-Briggs that takes into account who you are, how you enjoy working, what you want out of that, what your mission and your values and your interests. And so aligning that with your career goals can be very, very valuable. And the reason for that is because we spend the majority of our adult life at work. And so finding something that aligns with who we are and what we want of our life can make for a more enjoyable career. And so if you have not done some type of Myers-Briggs assessment, I encourage you to do that. The great thing about those exams is you can actually have them in comparison to different occupations. So one of my favorite resources is a resource called ONET Online. You can just Google onetonline.org, but it actually it compares that profession, that job description, against the Myers-Briggs personality assessment. And so what you can do is, as you're looking at specific careers that you're interested in, you can determine, hey, does this align with who I am as a person and how I enjoy working and what my values are as a person. And next thing that I encourage you to do is to create a personal skills inventory. So one of the biggest things that I see with college students is that they undersell what they have to offer. So what I mean by that is I'll talk with a student and I'll say, tell me a little bit about your work experience. And they'll say, oh, I don't have any really valuable work experience. And I'll say, okay, well, what have you been doing while you're in college? How have you helped pay the bills? And they'll say, oh, I was a barista for 2 years in a high-paced environment. And I'm like, okay, transferable skills. That's great. That's a lot of really good information. Or they'll say, I was a bouncer at a bar. And I'll say, you know what? I have employers that I worked with prior in my former role at Louisiana Tech, where that was the profile of student that they were looking for, was someone who had been a bouncer at a bar or in some type of profession where they were having to problem solve and they were having to keep their cool and intense environments. And so I encourage you to look at the experiences that you don't think are valuable and make sure that you are using those in the job search, in the interview, because there is a lot of transferable skills in nannying. I've had a student that has told me before, I have mowed lawns the entire high school and college. I've built my client base up to 25 customers. I've managed my own billing. I procure my own supplies. I manage my own schedule. That's huge. Those are huge skills that you can communicate to an employer. And so I encourage you to come up with a list of all of the things that you're doing, both getting paid for, volunteering, church activities, extracurricular activities, and make sure that you're communicating those on your resume. Make sure you're communicating those in your cover letter, on your LinkedIn profile, because those are really valuable things to portray. All right, so when thinking about what type of job do I apply for, it's important to ask what part of your studies or your work experiences, your internships did you enjoy most? Because those are the types of roles that I would encourage you to apply for. It's easy to get caught in a trap of applying for just the jobs that are the most highly compensated. That is, of course, money is great, but money is not everything. And so I would encourage you to figure out what you genuinely are excited about and target opportunities that align with that. All right, so another thing is leveraging social media. As a hiring manager myself at HMV, I will tell you that we look at the social media platforms of all candidates that we interview. It's important to have a professional social media presence, and so that's LinkedIn. LinkedIn is absolutely a necessity. If you do not have a LinkedIn profile, go ahead and create one of those. It is free to use. 90% of HR recruiters are using social media. And so LinkedIn helps you control the narrative of your professional presence. It's imperative that you have a LinkedIn profile. Another thing that you want to think about is your other social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, Twitter, whatever you're using. If those are not set to private, then an employer is going to look at that and make assumptions, make decisions based on how you're presenting yourself. It was important for me very early on in my career to go ahead and communicate with family members. Hey, it's important that what I am tagged in on social media reflects who I am and the employers that I work for. So please make sure that you're keeping it clean. Don't put anything with profanity or anything like that. I once had a student worker that he was employed in an internship, and his mom decided to share a video that she thought was funny on Facebook about drug use and tagged him in it. And he actually got drug tested at his internship. And so, whatever you post on social media, whatever someone else posts on social media and tags you in, that has a reflection of how you are going to be portrayed at work. And so, it's important to maybe clean up some of your social media profiles, things that you did in high school or early college years that you thought were funny, but now you realize it's just immature and not the best representation of you. Go ahead, delete those photos, clean up those posts, and make sure that if you looked at it from a recruiter's eyes, you would hire yourself. All right. Research. So, one of the most frustrating things that a hiring manager can answer is, what does your organization do? If you're having a conversation with an employer, you need to know who they are, what they offer, what their services are at the bare minimum. Now, I'm not saying to know what their financial statements look like and all of those things, but you have to know at a 600 foot level, what does that organization do? And so it's important to conduct research on these organizations, use online resources, networking platforms, LinkedIn. I'm going to go back over and over again on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great way to figure out if an organization is a fit for you, what their culture is, how many employees do they have, do they even hire roles that have the job title that you're interested in. You can find out all of that information on LinkedIn. I call it professional stalking, and there's an entire video on our YouTube page that discusses all of those things. You can also research industry trends and job market demand to know where opportunities are going to be. It's great to have career goals, but if your career goals are not realistic, then you're only going to end up frustrated in your job search. So what I mean by this is, let's say you are planning to take a specific role in a specific city and state, but the more you research, you realize, hey, that is not where the demand is. Well, then that's important for you to adjust your career goals. So doing research can help make sure that the job occupation that you are targeting is actually going to be hireable in the geographic location that you desire. It's also important to understand what employers are looking for. What are the skills and the qualifications that they are targeting? Because those are the skills and qualifications that you want to present yourself having on LinkedIn and on your resume and in your cover letter and things like that. All right. Next thing is get organized. So I've mentioned that job searching can be frustrating, and that's sort of an understatement. Job searching can be absolutely devastating if you're not keeping perspective. All right. So, one of the most difficult things about job searching is the continuous no. And job searching and applying for jobs is a numbers game. You're going to get told no. You're going to get told no a lot. So, go ahead and tell yourself that's okay. One of the important parts of a spreadsheet is that it helps you see your progress, even if you're not seeing it in terms of interviews. All right, so what do I mean by a spreadsheet? I would say if you're trying to apply for jobs in Dallas, Texas, in a marketing capacity, then you need to have a tab for Dallas, Texas marketing roles. And then maybe you have another tab for Austin, Texas, or whatever. All right. And we're going to list the company name, the hiring manager that you talked with, the link to their careers page, notes about. I spoke with Sally Smith, the recruiter, and she said that the big hiring push is in November. So to make sure that I reach out then. All right. And then what you're going to do is as you apply for positions and as you communicate with hiring managers, attend networking events, and talk with professionals, you're going to add these notes to this spreadsheet. And what that's going to allow you to do is see very visibly the progress that you're making in your job search, but then you will also be able to know when to follow up with those professionals. So if you have spoken with Sally Smith and she said, hey, follow up in November, that's when we do our big hiring push, then you can make a note of that, put a reminder in your phone, and that's going to help you stay organized. All right, it's November. I need to reach out to Sally Smith. Or maybe you applied with XYZ company. It's been a month since you've heard anything. All right, it's an appropriate time for you to follow up. It's going to help you stay organized, keep your contacts together. I oftentimes hear students say, oh my gosh, I've applied for so many jobs. I don't even know what companies, what roles, what cities. Well, you need organization. And so that's where that spreadsheet comes in. A weekly goal is also important because it helps you stay on track. So I tell students to schedule their job search like they schedule their internship hours. Plan for Tuesdays and Thursday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. And set and stick to that schedule. That's not exactly the schedule you have to have. I'm just throwing out an example. But keep those hours as work hours, and that's going to help you stay on schedule. Give yourself a goal. I want to apply for 5 positions every 2 days or whatever it is. Just give yourself a goal, because without a goal, I can guarantee you that your commitment to your job search and your productivity in your job search will come on very, very strong in the beginning, and then it will begin to waver as you get told no, or you get ghosted, or you don't hear responses, and then eventually that turns to procrastination. And so it really, this scheduling, this spreadsheet, it's going to help you stay on track. Another thing that I want to mention is that you can't delay your job search to graduation. That was the, I guess, most common problem that I helped solve at Louisiana Tech with students that would wait until the very end. They're about to graduate, they're about to walk across the stage, and then they would say, oh, I don't have a job. And I was like, you should have started job searching months ago. In fact, I tell freshmen to job search at freshman year. Now, I don't mean go out and apply for jobs for entry level roles. What I mean is to have that job search mentality where you're always networking, you're always attending events that put yourself in the room with the right people. Building your resume, adding skills and certifications to your portfolio. All of those things are part of the job search process. It typically takes 6 to 8 months to secure a role, a full-time role. And so if you are thinking I'm graduating in May 2025, then you need to do the math 8 months prior to that. But one thing that you have to be cautious of is a lot of industries hire based on cycles. So they don't recruit all year round. They recruit in specific timeframes. HMV, for example, our university hiring is done in September and October, and we fill roles for the entire year. So if a student was graduating and they said, all right, I want to the specific industry that I'm interested in, they recruit heavily in the spring. I graduate in the spring. Well, you need to actually begin posting your applications and submitting your resume a year prior to that. So you have to know what those timeframes are for the industry that you're interested in and not wait until the last minute. One of the most common, I guess, emotions is fear that I see in job searches. Students are just paralyzed by fear of being told no, fear of the adult decision making of having to find a full time role, and they let that paralyze them. Fear of not finding the right company or not finding the right job or not liking what they chose to major in. Don't let that fear paralyze you. Life is about learning from mistakes and just doing it and making adjustments later. And so I would tell you, if your biggest concern is, I don't know if I'm going to like the company I'm going to apply for, well, maybe try to do an internship with them. Talk with someone that works for that organization that you know and trust so that you can get their inside perspective. There's things that you can do to mitigate that risk. But the biggest thing is don't let fear just completely paralyze you. A lot of times we are so concerned with all of the things that are out of our control that we just let those things keep us from applying and being productive and moving forward in our search. All right, how to market your skills as a recent graduate. So I mentioned transferable skills early on in the presentation. That is probably the most valuable thing a recent graduate or a student can do, is to communicate the things that they have done that have built transferable skills, skills that may not be directly relevant to their major or chosen profession, but are still transferable. So for example, as an accountant, one of the things that you're required to have is being very detail oriented. And so transferable skills might be being someone that did inventory at a grocery store. Yeah, not directly relevant, but it still required that same skill, detail orientedness, to be honed and developed. And so that's what I mean by transferable skills. Extracurricular activities are another important part of building leadership skills. I always like to make the joke, we want to know that you can play in the sandbox well with others. And so being in organizations can help you do that. I always like to see leadership roles. So maybe you're a student and you've got some time left, you've got semesters or quarters in front of you. If you can be in a leadership role, that is incredibly valuable. Make sure that if you have not had the opportunity to do an internship in your direct field, then highlight the coursework that you have. For example, if you're a supply chain major, you might highlight operations management. If you're an accounting major, you might highlight auditing. If you're an IT student, you might highlight systems architect classes or something like that. All right. The classes that you are in are incredibly valuable. So make sure that you highlight those on your resume. If you don't know how to do that, make sure you tune into the resume lecture that is also tuned up on our website. And so, on our YouTube page, sorry. So you can see all of those past recordings, and resumes is something I've gone into a great deal of. Another thing is volunteering your time. If you feel like you don't have the skills that employers are looking for, or you keep applying for positions and they're telling you over and over again, hey, you don't have this specific certification, or you don't have this experience in this. Go volunteer your time with a nonprofit and say, hey, I'm here. I'm an accounting major. I've been told over and over again that I don't have this specific skill. I would love to volunteer my time. I've got 4 months until graduation. Would you be willing to let me volunteer every Monday for 3 hours or something like that? All right. You can volunteer your time and develop those same skills. I once had a student that had, she was told no. And every time she asked, hey, is there anything I can do differently? Anything that I can do to improve my application? And two of those responses were, you don't have Adobe. She was a marketing student. You don't have any Adobe skills. And that was something that had not been covered in her coursework. And I looked at her and I said, take an online class, spend $15 or however much it is, and just get the skill that they're looking for. And so she took an online class. She was able to find one for free. Next interview she went in, they asked about Adobe. Man, she crushed it, got that job offer. So if there's a gap in what you what you have versus what they want, address it, close the gap, find the skill, get the skill, and communicate that you have it. All right, so how to develop a job search strategy. So I often get asked, don't you just apply for jobs online? Why do you need a strategy? Well, the reason is because we want this job search to be as painless and as quick as possible. And so having a strategy will help you go into that with the right mindset. All right, so one of the most important things that I want you to pay attention to, seriously, this is the most important thing that I can talk about today, is there is a difference between the known job market and the hidden job market, oftentimes referred to as advertised vacancies versus unadvertised vacancies. All right, known market versus hidden market. 80% of jobs are on the hidden market. So that means they're not posted online. They're not in Indeed, Monster, Career Builder, LinkedIn, whatever job search site you're using, they're not on it. All right. So that is probably the hardest thing to stomach in your job search, is that there are so many jobs that are out there that exist that they're hiring for that never get put online. And so how do you tap into that hidden job market? And it's through networking, and it's through a lot of different activities that we're going to talk about here in just a moment. But it's important to understand that there are two sides that you need to be focusing on. Yes, apply for jobs online. That's low hanging fruit. That's advertised vacancies. That's easy to do and very visible. But then there's also this other piece of unadvertised vacancies where you have to network and put yourself in the room with the right people and reach out and communicate and do all of these other things to tap into those hidden jobs. All right. So let's talk about the first one, advertised vacancies. So advertised vacancies can be going on LinkedIn, going on Indeed, going on Handshake. For those that are university students, Handshake is a great resource. You can look at newsletters or Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups for different professions that you're in, for accounting, the AICPA, Louisiana CPA. Those are organizations that you can join as student members and get access to those job boards. Oftentimes, those student memberships are free or heavily discounted. So it's a great time for you to join those professional organizations. Another thing is to know the companies that you want to apply for and visit their careers page. All right, so the biggest advice that I can give you here is focus on quality, not quantity. Sometimes I'll talk with students and I'll say, all right, what's your job search strategy? And I'll say, I don't have one. Like, what have you been doing? How have you been putting yourself out there? And they say, I get on Indeed and I apply using the quick apply button for as many jobs as I possibly can until I can't keep my eyes open anymore. I close my laptop and I do it the next morning. So they're sheerly focused on quantity. So what that means is they're not getting noticed by anyone. They're doing the bare minimum effort with the majority of the employers. And so they're not actually being noticed by any one employer doing that method. And so I oftentimes tell students to use an approach called the double down method. All right. So if it is worth applying for, it is worth doing one extra step to get noticed. That could be reaching out to the hiring manager on LinkedIn. Don't know how to do that. Tune into that last webinar. That can be reaching out to alumni and finding alumni that work for that organization and asking for an informational interview, also covered in that previous webinar. So what that means is we're going to focus on fewer employers, fewer job postings, but we're going to make more effort with each of those. So instead of stretching ourselves so thin that we're not being noticed by any one employer, we are instead going to focus on a fewer number of employers, but really make a difference, really get noticed. Apply for the job, bare minimum, and then double down. Do at least one extra step. Reach out to the hiring manager, find alumni to do an informational interview, send a message to the hiring manager on LinkedIn with a connection request. Hi, thank you so much. I recently applied for the opportunity in blah, blah, blah. The reason that I'm reaching out is because I'm incredibly excited. I've watched your organization for the last several months, and I'm excited to see an entry-level role in my field of study, blah, 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 blah. I would love to connect with you. It's essentially just a, hey, notice me, I applied, and I'm willing to do more than the bare minimum. Having initiative in the job search is one of the most valuable things that you can do. Going the extra mile, doing the extra step, applying has gotten to be such a lazy action where you just hit the quick apply button and move on to the next job. That doing something extra can really help you get noticed. All right. Another thing is to use your cover letter to answer every requirement of the advertisement. As a hiring manager, I oftentimes look at the cover letter to explain why. Why is that person interested in this position? Why is that person changing industries? Or why is that person applying for this position if they don't have all of the criteria on the job description? Remember, transferable skills. Your cover letter is the perfect place for you to talk about those transferable skills. While I don't have 2 years of experience in customer service, I have had the opportunity to volunteer at blah, 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 blah. All right, transferable skills. You want to make sure that you personalize your materials to specific companies. That is such an important part, is making that employer feel like they're not just a number and that you're not just reaching out to them and 100 other people that day, that you truly do want to work for them. All right, so now let's talk about the more difficult side, which is the hidden market, unadvertised vacancies. All right, so my encouragement would be to come up with a list of your top 10 employers. Don't wait for those companies to post job opportunities in your field of study. Go ahead and reach out to them directly. So, for example, maybe you've always wanted to work for Nike and you look on their website, and in their Seattle office, they don't have a specific position in the area that you want to go into that's entry level. That's okay. Find the person that is the department head over that company in that specific location and reach out and say, hi, I wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. I am graduating in blank. I'm pursuing a bachelor's degree in blank. I've developed skills in blank, blank, and blank. The reason I'm super passionate about this organization is because of blank. And I noticed that you didn't have any entry level opportunities in blank, but I wanted to express my interest. I've attached my resume. Please let me know if you know of any opportunities that might be coming available that I would be suited for. Chances are the organization knows the pipeline. They know when those positions are coming available. They just may not be actively posted. And so communicating with those organizations can be incredibly valuable. I had a student that her sights were set on the Hall of Fame, Sports Hall of Fame. She was a sports marketing major, and she actually created these footballs that had her name printed on them. QR code. The QR code went to a video resume of her explaining her skill set and her education and her internships. And she physically mailed these footballs to game. And so that is an example of really thinking outside of the box, thinking on the football actually, and really showing your creativity, showing your initiative. I had a student that her family generations of working for waste management, and so she really wanted to work for waste management. She was a marketing student. They didn't have any positions posted. I said, I want you to go to Walmart, find a toy truck, a toy garbage truck. They actually have some that say waste management on them. I want you to do that, and I want you to physically mail that garbage truck with your resume in the little dumpster with a tagline that says, I know you get a lot of resumes, but I can guarantee you this one's not trash. And I said, I want you to really go for it. Sorry, I spilled my water down there. I want you to really go for it and show them your creativity, show them that you are super interested. And that's one way that you can really get noticed in the job search. All right, so next thing is develop a network. So I talked about putting yourself in the right place at the right time. Go to the events that your university is offering, employer receptions, career fairs, accounting nights, whatever they're offering, go to it. Every time I attend an event, I am actively looking for talent. It doesn't matter if it is a specific hiring event. For example, HMV just did the World Chicken Tour where we attended 7 universities. We handed out about 2,000 chicken sandwiches, and I was actively looking for talent the entire time I was there. So all a student had to do was see HMV is coming to campus. They're giving out some free Chick-fil-A sandwiches. Hey, I'm going to be there and I'm going to have my resume. And that happens. Some students, very few, but some students physically had their resume on site ready to meet our team. And that made such a huge difference. Another thing is to make sure that you're acquainting yourself with people that are in your field of study. And so, for example, if you know you want to be a marketing director, you know you want to be an audit accountant, you know you want to be a supply chain area manager, whatever your career goals are, find people that are doing that. Go on LinkedIn. Again, if you don't know how to do that, tune into the LinkedIn webinar and I show you how to find people that are working in your field of study. But have conversations with them about what does it look like on a daily basis? What skills are you building? What certifications do I need to be getting right now in college to prepare myself for that career? Those are incredibly valuable things that you can be doing. And while it sounds counterproductive, all right, instead of just applying for jobs, I'm going to go have all of these networking conversations. 1 in 12 informational interviews result in a job interview. In a job offer. 1 in 12 informational interviews result in a job offer. That's huge. If we look at the statistics of applications submitted online, 1 in 200 applications submitted online result in a job offer. So how should we be spending our time? 1 in 200, 1 in 12? Well, it's clear and it's obvious. We should be networking, building relationships, putting ourselves in the right room with the right people, and having conversations about our career. It is a wonderful thing for you to do right now to do an informational interview because it helps you solidify your career goals. It helps you figure out, is it the right career path for me? Do I enjoy, as they describe their day? Is that something I could see myself enjoying? Are there skills that I'm missing? Okay, I need to close the gap. I need to get those specific skills. But it opens up yourself to their network. So instead of just you job searching alone, it's like recruiting in all these other people to help with your job search. Because when you talk with someone and they get to know you, they're going to want to help you find a job and they're going to send your resume out to their network. And so now instead of just your actions, you have all of these other people that are going to bat for you and validating that you have these skills and putting their reputation on the line to get your resume in the right hands. And so it really can be a powerful job search tool. If you take nothing out of today's presentation, do an informational interview. It is so powerful. All right, contact employers directly. I mentioned send them something in the mail to their HR team, call their hiring managers, reach out on LinkedIn. This is a really great way to get noticed. Make sure you're tailoring those communications. It's always very frustrating as a company to receive a resume that has another company's name in the objective statement, seeking a position at blank company. And I'm like, that's not us. That just shows that you're in a hurry, you're rushing, you're not really being intentional. Make sure that you're tailoring those communications to that specific company. Here's an outreach message. If you have your cell phone, you're welcome to take a picture of this. We'll also send out the recording with the presentation, so you can get that from here as well. Here's a great outreach message. I've been a long time follower of blank and greatly admire the impactful work you do for blank reason. I wanted to reach out because you hold a position that I aspire to in the next 5 years. If you have a moment to spare, I'd love the opportunity to gain insights from your journey and how you achieve such success. Spoiler alert, everyone loves to talk about themselves. They love to tell their story, their journey. So tap into that. Tap into having others share their insight and their advice, and you are going to learn something. I guarantee it. At the bare minimum, you'll learn more about the profession. At the most, you just might receive a job offer. Go offline. So we've talked about LinkedIn, we talked about Handshake, we talked about all of these things. There is a large part of job searching that is just being present physically. Go to the job fair. Physically drop your resume off at a place of employment. Go, for example, classroom speakers. You have classroom speakers all the time that come into your classroom. Physically go up to them at the end and say, "Thank you so much. This was so great. I really enjoyed the part about blank." That can make such a difference. Everyone is so rushed to get out of the classroom. And so there's always a easy way for you to make a huge impact just by going up to those speakers at the end. Use career services. This is a free service that your university offers. Louisiana Tech offers career services for life. I'm not sure the policy on other universities. I can imagine it is the same. Once you are part of that university's alumni network, you can tap into those resources for free. Handshake is a really great tool. Go and visit with your career services team. Tell them the struggles that you're having. Take your resume, ask them to review it. Ask everyone that you have in your mentors, professors, classmates. Ask everyone to review your resume. To hey, I'd love to give you a copy of my resume. Please pass it along to anyone that you know might be looking. I had this happen at HMV. Excuse me, at the HMV World Chicken Tour at Stephen F. Austin. It was an IT major. They came up to me with their resume. They said, "What are you actively hiring for?" I said, "Entry-level internships and accounting roles." They said, "Well, you might not be looking for a computer science major right now, but if anyone in your network is, please pass this resume along to them." And I thought that was just such a class act. They were prepared. Even they didn't take no for an answer, right? They said, "If anyone in your network is looking, please pass this along." And so I thought that was a really, really valuable thing to do. All right, persistence. I've talked about how the job search can be frustrating. You are going to receive rejection, without a doubt. Rejection is part of the job search process. So make sure that you don't let those things discourage you. Having that spreadsheet is a great way to see the progress you're making, even though it may not be resulting in job interviews. So having those goals in mind, keeping a level head and just understanding that no's are a part of it. Being ghosted by employers, unfortunately, is a part of it. But make sure you take those rejections and know that that just means no, not right now. No is just a no, not right now. I always love the candidates that reach out to me if I send a rejection and they say, "Thank you so much. I really appreciated your time. Please keep my resume on file. I'd love to check back in with you in a couple of months to see if your hiring needs have changed. Would you be okay with that?" Absolutely. That just shows a whole level of professionalism if someone can respond to a thanks but no thanks email with that level of professionalism and care and still initiative to work for that organization. And so make sure that you're responding to those rejections, because those very easily can turn into yeses. Ace the interview. We're going to talk about this in detail in the next webinar, so I'm not going to spoil it, but preparation is key. Make sure that you provide examples of the things that you are saying you have. That's the number one thing I see with students in the interview is they give generalities. I'm a hard worker. I have great teamwork skills. I'm an excellent communicator, but they don't actually prove that. They don't share how they develop those skills. And without proof, they're just empty words. And so make sure that you demonstrate how you built those skills. And then ask thoughtful questions. If at the end of the interview you don't have any questions to ask, that really is a red flag. Make sure you have at least a few questions to ask. The one thing that I oftentimes hear is, "I don't have any questions. You answered everything for me." Well, you could come up with something. I tell students at the very least, you can ask, "What do you love working for this organization?" That gives you a perspective about their culture, about how that person enjoys it. Remember, an interview is a two-way street. interviewing you, yes, but you're also interviewing them and determining if it's a good fit for you. So make sure you ask questions because that's always a great way to figure out those things. So again, tune in for next month's webinar and we'll talk about interviewing in depth. For those of you that are interested in working for HMV, it's a phenomenal place. Heard Joel talk about his experience with HMV. I would love to tell you more about what makes HMV a great place. Scan this QR code and you will be contacted directly by me. You'll also receive all of the emails for future webinars, so please do that if you have not already done so. I greatly appreciate you tuning in and watching this webinar, and just know that I would love to support you in any way that I can in your career journey. So please feel free to reach out if you have any questions at all. Thanks so much. Bye.